Aubrey and I get asked often what our check-in and check-out process looks like between rentals, so let me show you. And it's not about to be about this red Ford Focus. Let's go. So let me demonstrate with our 2018 Lincoln Navigator, the newest addition to our fleet. So getting into the vehicles, before we even leave the lot, the first thing we check is mileage and gas. Always start the vehicle, and as everything starts lighting up, I go ahead and take a picture of the fuel, and I take a picture of the mileage. The main thing I want to do is I want to be fair. I want to make sure that we're checking the fuel. If it needs to be filled up, I know, okay, great, this is what the fuel looks like before it even leaves anywhere. That way if somebody complains and says, oh, I filled it up, I have a picture right there saying, no you didn't. Once I take the photos, I go ahead and upload them in the Turo app. That way whenever Aubrey goes to review the renter and look for any reimbursements, she can apply any applicable charges. After we do that, we go ahead and take a look at the entire vehicle on the outside before we leave the lot, see if there's any new damages. Now this car's already been checked in since its last trip, but let me go ahead and show you all the things that I look for. Starting off, I'm looking at things like mirrors, because I always take photos of mirrors in case they get damaged or sideswiped against a pole. That's usually the first thing that gets hit before the body. Now assessing new damages on some of our vehicles is kind of a varying scale. Like something on this 2007 Ford Focus behind me, I could really care less if somebody comes back with 3 more door dings. It's just adding to the collection. That car is priced appropriately because it's older, has a lot of miles, and it's been damaged plenty of times before that. So a renter that's renting our 2007 Ford Focus would get away with a lot more than maybe a renter renting our 2018 Navigator. And just like Barney Fife would say, not a lot gets by me. Or something like that. Can't remember.
What does that even mean?
Barney Fife and
Nip it in the bud.
like this damage down here. This is why it's really important to take a lot of photos, especially about the cars that are real bigger and more expensive. I was able to prove that this car did not have this damage right here, and the damage just doesn't start here and end here. It actually starts here, goes all the way right about there. Now because this damage is so minor, we actually ended up settling with the guest directly, and we settled for about $150 for this little minor repair. For this repair, we'll just do a simple buff, and it'll bring it back to pretty close to normal. Now, in addition to door dings and stuff I'd find on the door, I always look at door edges. Door edges are really important because if somebody's getting out of the vehicle, they may be a little careless and smack something. You're gonna see a lot of chips taken out of the door, but none on these because the renters are actually pretty kind of courteous. And again, this is damage we probably wouldn't care about on our cheaper cars, but on this Lincoln Navigator, we care. Now when I'm making my way around, I also take a look at wheels and tires individually. On a cheaper car, I usually only take 1 photo of the entire wheel and tire, where on this Navigator, I actually take 3, and I'm really looking for tire sidewall damage, scuff marks, and even rim damage on the edges of the wheels or even the face of the wheel. When I get to the back bumpers, I'm looking high and low. I want to make sure that the renter didn't back in anything or nobody backed into the renter. I'm always looking at certain bits here, here, and here, even on the edges for scratches. And rinse and repeat for the opposite side. Let's head to the front. Now heading to the front, this is obviously where a lot of the impacts are gonna go. Now I always say rock chips is normal wear and tear, and that is true. Now big impacts and debris that hit the vehicle, that's obviously gonna leave a pretty big mark, which will lead us to this bit of damage here. Now this damage actually occurred on the second rental, where that side damage was on the third rental. Yes, back-to-back damage claims, whoopee. This is the life of the Lincoln Navigator, unfortunately. Somebody backed into our renter at a restaurant and did some pretty significant damage, even tore a bit of the bumper off. And in the same trip, we also saw that one of the interior bits was broken. It's always important to go ahead and test every bit of piece of the interior. I'm talking sun visors, the little visor doors, and even these center console compartment storages. I always take photos of my center console with these open and closed to kind of prove that, hey, this wasn't broken, and this actually helped us in this trip. So my job is to check in the vehicle and look for any new damage and inspect the entire vehicle and log everything to a T. Once any damage is found, it's Aubrey's job to go ahead and file the claim and follow up with the guest to get reimbursement. Now, though this little interior compartment door and the front bumper damage doesn't look that serious or costly, it actually is on a more expensive vehicle like this Navigator. We actually end up getting paid $3,400 through Turo when we filed this claim. In between trips, you always want to check for maintenance on vehicles, and one of the things we check for is tires. Now, typically you can do just a visual inspection on your tires. You want to see if any wear is happening on the outside or on the inside of the tire or even the center, and you can do this visually and just using your hands and fingers. You can use a coin if you have a coin, or you can even use a tire tool. And using a tire tool is the sure way to know how much tread depth your tire has. It's really simple, just placing on top of the tire, pressing down firmly, and then reading it appropriately. This seems kind of like overkill. Do I really check all my tires? Actually, yes I do, because this is a sure way to check for any alignment issues, is just by looking at your tire. Even if your car isn't pulling left or right, just doing a visual inspection is a sure way to make sure you catch anything before it gets bad. On my exterior inspection, I always look at the outside of the glass because sometimes you're gonna have impacts on this part of the glass that you can't see from the inside. So always look for any rock chips underneath the wiper blades all the way around top. Make sure you don't have any significant stars or rock chips because they will spread over time. It's also important to know that you never know when you're going to see this vehicle next time it goes on a rental. It could be a week, could be 2 weeks, could be a month, you never know. Check your tire pressure. Checking your tire pressure in between rentals is a surefire way to make sure you're getting the maximum amount of life out of your tires, correcting any issues in case one tire is lower than the others, it might have a nail, and the renter gets in the vehicle, they have no problems for the trip. Now, whenever you go on your test drive for your vehicle, you don't have to go super insane, you don't have to take it on the freeway. What you're looking for is just something that you might notice that's different in between the rental. So on the way to your cleaning place, on the way to a car wash, or even on your way back to your home base. Now, whenever I leave the lot, the first thing I do, and I actually do this at every single time I pick up a vehicle, is when I come up to a stop sign, I roll down the windows. That actually does 2 things. I'm listening for any brake noise that might have been new, so like worn brake pads will start squeaking before they start grinding. That's what I'm checking for first, and I'm making sure every window still works. Sometimes windows will break on rentals, and the renter will not let you know the window is broken because they think they might end up getting charged for it. I also make sure that the music's off. I want to make sure I'm listening to the vehicle. Again, this might be the last time you see this vehicle for an extended period of time. You want to make sure that your next rental has no issues, so this is the time to catch it. Whenever I'm making a turn, I'm always listening to hear if I hear anything like driveline noises. Usually on front wheel drive cars or rear wheel drive cars, you're gonna hear things like CV axles starting to make noises or clickings. And once I get to a main street, I'm gonna go ahead and do a little bit of an acceleration test. I'm not flooring it on the vehicle, but I am checking to make sure the car can get up to speed appropriately and no dash lights come on as well. Whenever I get up to speed, I'm also making sure that the car isn't pulling to any which direction. That way I can say the alignment is good on this vehicle and it doesn't need to be realigned in between the rental. And if there are any issues that come up, like a pulling steering wheel or an imbalance in the wheel, I can go ahead and get that addressed. That way, when it goes on its next rental, it's clean and clear. And we didn't mention this earlier, but whenever you do your interior cleaning of the vehicle, make sure that you go through the back and check everything in the back. All the controls for the AC, or even any of the rear visors, or if there's rear seats that may have been moved. Make sure everything still works appropriately and nothing's broken from the previous rental. Once you've done your quick 2-minute test drive, you're good to go to clean it for the next rental. I already cleaned this Navigator. It gets cleaned every rental because we have a wash pass, so I won't demonstrate it, but let me show you some of the common chemicals that I use to clean our vehicles. Now, I always have this little tray that has all my stuff that I use on every single vehicle. It's very simple, pull it right out. Got things like glass cleaners, Lysol wipes, clean microfiber towels, and interior spray. Clean towels and a really good window detailing spray is really important. Nobody likes streaks on a window, and nobody likes dirty windows. Make sure any fingerprints in the vehicle are off. A good interior spray also goes a long way. Anything like in the center console, sticky coffee drips, or soda spray on the back seats, this will get it out without damaging anything on the interior. If I do have a stain on the carpets, I can hit it with this quick spot remover and scrub it out real quick in between rentals. That way I don't have to sit all day and wash out the entire vehicle with a carpet cleaner. And we always have our machines for the in-between. Every vehicle actually gets a vacuum no matter what. And I also have my carpet cleaner on deck in case the spot remover doesn't do the trick. Now, we don't take our cars through the car wash through every single rental, but every car does get a thorough interior cleaning no matter what. Now, we clean every single one of our vehicles right when they get returned. That way we can take a look for any smoking claims that may need a little bit longer to clean out. That way, whenever the car gets booked, ready to go. But there you guys have it. That's our check-in and check-out process in between rentals. And as always, guys, be sure to hit that like button, hit that subscribe, and hit that notification bell, and we'll see you in the next episode.